More than 1 million British children have special educational needs. At school, they should be given support to help them learn, but in many cases they're being forgotten. In this programme, the casualties of the education system speak out.
Basically, they just locked me in a room, ticked me off the register, took me out.
They got complete contempt for the child. I felt like very alone, I suppose, that's how I describe it, and they blamed a lot of the things that's like to do with my ADHD on me.
It's just absolutely devastating to see a young person get to such a point, to feel like she's just got no place in the world because nobody cares.
We ask the experts, what's going wrong?
Money is always a problem. It is never the only problem. A great deal of it is vision and commitment.
And quiz politicians about what needs to change.
You need equity in the system. Just because you live in one part of the country, you shouldn't lose out compared to another part and vice versa.
What if it was your child? This is Failure to Educate. A few months ago, when we started this investigation, we'd seen reports that children with special educational needs were being let down by the school system. We wanted to find out how big a problem this really is. So we contacted parents of children with special educational needs through Facebook groups, and we were staggered by the response and the stories they told.
I'm home educating my son because his school didn't help him and he became suicidal.
I had to fight again this year for my son's EHCP as the council knocked him off the SEN register without telling me.
I had nothing but trouble throughout my daughter's education, even recently in college. Zero support of her needs and no statement or EHCP.
Many of the parents who got in touch raised failings with the Educational Healthcare Plan, known as the EHCP, which was introduced in 2014. In Westminster, some feel the plan has not delivered for the children it was designed to help.
A few years ago, we in Parliament agreed under the Children and Families Bill what's called the Education Health Care Plan. So you were linking up educational needs with health needs with social care needs. And the idea of that was that, as I say, young people who had special educational needs would be diagnosed what the problem was, and it would all be dealt with within 12 weeks. Sounds great on paper, and everybody was really up for it. But that hasn't in reality happened.
14-year-old Evie lives in Stockport with her mum Sharon and suffers from type 1 diabetes and ADHD. When she moved up to secondary school, Evie was left without specialist support for 5 months, leading to a number of serious incidents concerning her well-being.
She was left to her own devices and she was having to come out of school a lot. She missed an awful lot of education. We got to a place where she became a school refuser at one point because she didn't feel safe at school, because she didn't have trust in the people who were supposed to look after her. And there was just this point-blank refusal to deal with what needed to be dealt with, and as a result Evie was actually put at risk, serious risk, that's resulted in us having to go to tribunal to have these matters addressed, so in terms of SEN and disability discrimination.
Evie's treatment by the school took its toll on her mental health. She started to self-harm and began having suicidal thoughts.
I felt very alone and just not really noticeable. I just didn't want to do anything, depressed. It's like quite invisible and quiet.
As a mother, actually observing your child going through that and knowing that there's absolutely nothing you can do, or it certainly feels like that, to change the situation, because everything that I could have done, I did, and people were not listening. They just were not taking it serious at all.
Barney Angliss is an SEN consultant and teacher. He has spent many years helping children get the support they need in school.
The system really provides for support across a wide range of needs, but it involves a number of agencies, and the main problem is getting those agencies to work with each other and working across boundaries between health and education and social care. Many parents find that they have spent most of their child's time in school just struggling to get a shared understanding of what the child needs.
It's really intimidating actually, because of course you go in and try to give the information as best you can, but you're just so often met with, it sounds awful to say, but it feels very much like, you know, they're the big fish and you're the little fish, so it's not really taken on board. You're very often made to feel like you're either a parent that's exaggerating or, you know, dramatising what is.
It's fundamentally unequal because teachers are regarded as the experts in the classroom, but they are not an expert on every child.
Stockport School says it aims to be inclusive and help children with special educational needs make the best possible progress. But the school and the council both refuse to comment on Evie's case.
It's quite angry because I've had my time stolen while everybody else is learning things I'm not.
We headed back to London to meet Alfie and his grandmother, Sue. Alfie is autistic and is currently being homeschooled after being excluded from his local primary school. Like Sharon, Sue has been fighting the local authority to get the support her grandson needs.
I'm Alfie Berry and I'm 9 years old.
Sue recalls an upsetting incident at Alfie's junior school.
Dropped him into school. He was due to stay till 2:30, but he had an absolute complete meltdown and they locked him in a corridor and he just could not get out to run around the playground, cool himself down. And he was, when I got there, he was actually, I think he was having a fit. He was hyperventilating, he was on the floor, he was just absolutely sweating. The sweat was dripping off of him. And then I dropped down, picked him up, and I was cuddling him, and I was going on the back of his neck and blowing on the back of his neck to cool him down. And I was told, don't mollycoddle him. Have you seen how he's wrecked this cloakroom? You know, and he's kicked us trying to get out. What did they expect? You know, you just you wouldn't treat an animal like that. And they was treating him like that.
This is Jennifer McKay. She's a special needs teacher with 9 years' experience in both mainstream and specialist schools.
As a society, if we could better manage those naughty behaviours and see what they are, that they're a communication to us, and look at what's happening with the child and get some training in at mainstream level of occupational therapists or specialist training right at the early start to give the staff and everyone working with that child, rather than take them out and move them, to hang on, here we have a child, let's support them.
I think every single borough just want to get the child off their books and out the borough. And if they can bully parents into doing that, then they're perfectly happy. You know, they've just passed everything over to us, taken no responsibility for anything. And I thought, do other people have this, or do they just discriminate against us? Do they not like us? What? And since we've been asking around, we found that this is just a general problem that every parent with a child with special needs in Lewisham has.
This is Torridon Junior School in Lewisham, the school Alfie used to attend. The school insists that children with special educational needs will receive a broad and balanced academic curriculum. It also stresses that parental involvement is key to the success of its pupils. But nobody from the school nor Lewisham Council would speak to us about Alfie's case or their approach to special educational needs.
I want to go back to Torridon Junior where all my friends are, but I want the teachers from Torridon Infants to go to Torridon Junior too, not so I can be trapped in that horrible room.
We wanted to get a better understanding of the strategy for SEN support, as well as the realities of life in the classroom. So we're on our way to University College of London's Institute of Education, where we'll be meeting Rob Webster, a researcher who specialises in the role of teaching assistants.
I think what concerns me most about the work that we've done is the lack of priority around where SEN is in education. So at a system level, and perhaps with the exception of a few schools here and there who do it well, we haven't really got a clear strategy in mind for how we best provide for the needs of kids with SEN. This is happening as well at a time when we're seeing more children with SEN coming into the system, and the complexity of those needs, that profile is getting more complex. You know, we're seeing different types of SEN because we understand things better now than we did 10, 20 years ago.
In classrooms like this one, teaching assistants help support children with special needs. They are at the heart of the system but have limited training and face growing demand.
There were people in schools who kind of came into the job as a parent helper and were offered a contract of work, and they're sort of working part-time. And maybe the job has moved around them, and the training hasn't kept pace, and the demands that are put on them are more and more, and the complexity of the types of children they're working with has increased. So this puts teaching assistants in quite a difficult position.
It's all about experience and knowledge and knowing the children and learning, and there's a lot of learning to be done with SEN. There's so many complex needs that need specialist professionals advising, training, occupational therapists coming in, observations of me, my practice. There's a constant, it's a gratuitous approach towards developing your skills. It takes a long time, and so if we're getting in people who without this experience, the students will miss out, and it's quite scary to think what they will miss out on.
Rebecca Gould owes her education to inclusivity. She was the first child with Down syndrome in her area to attend mainstream school.
I went to 3 primary school and 2 secondary school and 3 college. Yeah.
At school, Rebecca benefited from day-to-day help with her learning. But to secure funding for this, Rebecca's parents had to justify to the local authority why their daughter should get a school place. She is grateful for the opportunity to make friends.
I went hopscotch with him and marble ones.
She even sat some GCSE exams, but to do so it was a constant fight for her parents. They worked with a number of agencies to ensure Rebecca was given an inclusive education. At an education trade fair, we met Nancy Gedge, a columnist who fights for SEN inclusivity.
Education is not a competition. Children's exam results do not exist so that we can show off on an international stage. A child's education is for them. Let's look at the policy properly. Now, if we can do that, then I think we've got a chance of creating something that leads the world in terms of inclusive education.
Decisions which affect school children across England are taken every day here in Whitehall by the Conservative government. Labour thinks it could do a better job. We're here today to meet the Labour politician who wants to take charge of SEN support.
Schools are facing their first time real cuts to their budgets, I think, in 20 years. So, there's billions of pounds gone out of the education system. So we've lost teaching assistants, we've lost specialist support. So what's happening is a lot of those children are no longer being catered for in mainstream education. Some of them are in alternative provision, when really they should be in mainstream. Some are being taught at home. Not everybody fits into the same mould. That everybody should have the same chances and the same choices around getting the very best education.
Please welcome Jeremy Corbyn!
At the last general election, Labour pledged to spend an extra £6.3 billion on schools, an eye-catching offer, but the Education Policy Institute raised concerns about Labour's sums. So can Labour be trusted to deliver?
I think they can trust us to deliver it, and our manifesto, unlike the Tory manifesto, was fully costed. We had figures in there. When we were in government from 1997 onwards, we delivered everything in our manifesto then. We said we'd introduce a national minimum wage. We said we'd prioritise education. We did those things, so why should we not be trusted now?
No one from the Department for Education would sit down with us to discuss their approach to special educational needs. Instead, the department told us that it's been a huge task to transfer children to the new educational healthcare plans, but that they are committed to ensuring all children have the support they need to succeed. Everyone agrees about the importance of educating future generations, but we've found that some children with special educational needs are currently falling through the cracks of the system. The challenge now facing the government is to work together with teachers and parents, ensuring that Britain's special needs children don't become Britain's forgotten children.